Welcome to our training video. We're doing this video to try and show the guys exactly how to install a solid or engineered or laminate wooden floor to specification so you have no failures or comebacks after the job. The most important thing about installing wooden floor really is your pre-installation. We have requirements of pre-installations, and we can go through this list one by one and step by step with you to show you actually, physically, in a situation in a home, exactly how to install and to do your pre-installation requirements. Right, I'd just like to run through some of the exterior conditions you've got to look for when you arrive on the site. And number one is gutters and downpipes are properly placed to drain water away from the structure. So we can have a look at the gutters and downpipes. We have no gutters here and we have no downpipes. So the next thing is the patios and balconies are sloping away. We're going to look at that as well. Guys, we're on a balcony here outside the upstairs bedroom where the wooden floor is going to go. I'll just show you here by the door. You can see the tile is actually laid on a slope. If you can just see how it's sloping down this way, which is already a good thing. And you'll notice in the corner of you've got two exits here for the water, and this whole patio and balcony is sloping down towards these exits. Well done to the builders, they've taken this into consideration. They've put their holes, they've sloped everything down. We're happy with this balcony. The flower beds are lower than the screeds. The pop-up sprinklers are facing the garden, not the house, and here's a sprinkler in the corner here. Unfortunately, we can't switch this one on, but it looks like this is possibly going to be hitting the wall. If this sprinkler is on for an hour or two a day, that water is being drawn into the wall. It will come through your wall onto the other side and could affect your floors. So be careful of that. Mention to the owners and watch it, because that could become a failure simply from a little sprinkler. Exterior doors with no overhang. Here we have a sliding door with no overhang. So this means when the door is closed, the rain will be directly on the door. But we're having a look at the structure, the construction of the door, and we see that there is a sill here that is lower. So at least it's a lower step than being flush with the door. So we should be okay, but we might just bring that to the owner's attention as well. Right, so here we are on the side of the house. We notice that there's a tap here, and there's no drain for the water to run away. This could be a danger point, and this may be advisable for you to note on your quote that this could be a possible danger point for the owners to look at. This would be a better scenario for the outside tap on the other side. At least the water is being drained away. Much better. Well, we've been around the whole house now. We've seen all the situations on the whole house. We're going to note all these problems so the owner knows. Now we're going to go inside and look at the inside situation to see if we can spot any possible problems there. So let's go inside the house and have a look there. Here we are in the room downstairs where there's a wooden floor going to be. This is going to be a laminate floor. A minute ago we were on the outside where we saw the door here with no overhang and with a sill that has got a slight drop down. So it's safer than if it was flush, but it's still, as I say, you can see the scenario on the inside. The rain drives against this window, possibly may come through. So your plastic here, of course, is extremely important. And of course, just mention it to the owner, it could possibly happen. Then it may absolve you from having a problem later. Right, okay, let's go up the stairs because there's some wooden floors upstairs as well. But don't think because it's upstairs there's no chance of a problem. We'll have other problems upstairs, so let's have a look what could possibly happen. Over here, there's a bathroom. Let's just have a quick look into the bathroom here. No shower, but there's a bath in the corner, and every bath, of course, has got a trap. It's by that wall, so if there's a leaking trap, it could possibly give you moisture on the other side of the wall. So let's go into the room where we're going to fit. Okay, so here we're in the room where we're going to fit. Right, the wall that is on the other side of the bathroom is there, so it's important we check that wall. This is a new house, so I doubt there's any leaks yet. But you could have an old house that's been going for 30 years, even then the wall could be wet from a leak. The wet trades are all finished, the painting's done, that's important. The windows are all in the house, so that's important. So I'd say we're ready to actually start doing our moisture tests, checking the flatness of our screeds, and we can start with our installations. So we're happy. So let's start with the moisture tests. This moisture test is vital because if it's wet, it can rise and go into your timber underneath, even though there's plastic. So let's have a look at what meters we've got here. As far as Sawlfa goes, we don't sanction any particular meter. However, we use these 2 meters. This is a Proti meter, that's the brand. That's what we call a Tramex close encounter. Concrete encounter, a Tramex concrete encounter. And either one of these is okay, just for an idea of the reading. You know, we're not moisture experts, we are flooring installers. We just want to know, is there or isn't there moisture? So, what happens if there's moisture? The question needs to be asked, is this rising damp in our old house? Or is this a new slab or a new screed that's still drying out? So this being a new house, and in fact we're upstairs now, so whatever we read here, if it's wet, we know that it's still drying out. So these are guidelines. Guys, there's many other meters on the market that you can use, but these are just guidelines. And what you need to do is know your meter, understand your meter. Go to your manufacturer and know what moisture levels are dry. That's vital, because if you think it's dry, it might be sopping wet if you don't understand your meter. Right, so let's have a look over here on this Proti meter. This is just checking the surface. Let's put it in, and there we're reading, looks like just over, say, 16%. A little bit high. Let's just try that now with the Tramex, with the concrete moisture meter. Okay, so there we got it. It's under 3.5, so it's 3.3. Ultimately, we're looking for 3 on this meter, and ultimately here we're looking for about 12. So let's just see, because we read here, let's just have another look at this reading. Yeah, about 16%. So it's sort of on the border. You'll notice on the meter, there's a green, then it moves to orange, and then it moves up to red. We want it basically in the green. Once it's in the green, we put a 250 or 200 micron virgin plastic down on top, which is basically a dead block. So if it's in the green, we're happy. If it's 3%, we're happy. So we're sort of just on the border here. It may need another few days with good ventilation to dry out. What we could do, we're going to do the exercise now. We're actually going to drill into the screed to see what it's like a little bit deeper. So let me get the drilling machine, and then we can drill some holes and see what it's like a bit deeper in. It will give us a better idea lower down. So let me go and get my drill. Right, guys, so we're in another room now. We're going to check the moisture in this other room as well. We didn't have power in the other room, but of course you take an extension. Here we've got an extension here. So we'll check the moistures here in the screed as well. Let's have a look what we are here. Right, on this meter we're showing 13, 14. It's in the green, so it's looking good. We're going to look at it also on the Tramex. The Tramex is the real concrete meter. And as you can see, it's reading 3, which is perfect for inland. On coastal, up to 3.5. So let's make a note. This is a pencil, but best to use a marker. Let's make a note: moisture. Tramex, that's the type of meter you used. 2%. And today's date is the 19th of May, 2012. If there's ever a problem, you'll be able to prove that you took the moisture because you got it here. And not only, take a camera and actually photograph yourself and your reading, and take photographs so you got some proof. Also note it on your quote that you tested the moisture, because if something happens that's not beyond your control, you have not got a moisture reading, it could bite you back, because everything goes back to the installer. Everything's the installer's fault. They try to blame the wood, they try to blame everything, but you, the man, the installer's the key man who takes responsibility for all these things. That's why we have to do all these tests, pre-installation and installation requirements. Right, now we're going to drill a quick hole here, and we're going to just test a little bit deeper into the screed. So now we're down, what, about 20 mils, and a second hole. Right. Because this meter, you know, it gives you a different reading because it's actually reading more like if it was reading wood, which is to the air moisture. We like to look a little bit deeper, and we're still reading in the green a bit deeper. So I would say this room, we're happy. We can now start checking the levels and continue with the installation. So let's do that. Guys, very important tool, straight edge. Without the straight edge, you can never know that the screed or slab is flat. You can't judge it by just looking at it. So let's use the straight edge now and see if the screed is okay. So let's go down. Now, let's have a look what we're seeing over here. Okay, right, so if I'm holding the straight edge down, you can actually see that it lifts quite a lot on the one side. You know, you've got a bit of a rocking effect. This could be because of a high spot, which you may have to knock down if there's a high spot here, or it could be that you need to screed this whole floor with a self-leveler. It's just also with a straight edge, of course, you can't just check one place, you need to check various. So a good method of doing that is actually holding it down on the one side and moving it around in a circle. And as you're going, you can start seeing your hollow spots. And that's where you can start marking your hollow spots to patch those areas. So please guys, check it all over the whole floor that everything's flat. But we have got an allowance of 3mm, so there is some allowance. We can never get 100% flat, and it's too expensive to put a full self-leveling screed every single time. So a bit of patchwork may be necessary, which is of course what you're going to do, because if you don't do the patchwork and the floor's bouncy, it may come back to you with your customer. Then you've got to start taking floors out and all sorts of nonsense. It's too expensive and you're going to lose money. Guys, check the flatness of your screeds. Now we're going to show you the two situations, a patching of a screed and a full screed. So the self-leveler, let's do that. This room we're going to do a full screed here. It's a self-leveler, it's only 5mm thick when it dries, but it'll give you a level floor. So we're just going to tape the walls up so we don't get any of the slurry onto the actual walls itself. We're also going to first prime the floor, because the primer is like a bonding liquid. It actually bonds the screed, leveling screed to the old screed, the existing screed. So what happens is, if you have a glue down installation and the floor moves, you know that it's not going to pull the self-leveler away from the original screed. When we do a glue down installation later on, we're going to show you how to do the test, to test the strength of the screeds, if they're strong enough for a glue down with a movement of wood. But now we're going to do the priming here, so let's start with the priming. Don't take shortcuts, because a lot of people shortcuts, just put a screed on without a primer, you're going to have to find your screed delaminating. So do it according to the manufacturer's instructions, it's very important. Well, as the installer says, you'll be able to use the underlay again, but the cost of repainting a wall will be a lot more expensive than a little bit of underlay, which is not too expensive. Okay guys, before your primer, make sure the floor is clean and stripped, otherwise your primer is not going to stick to it. So make sure that your floor is clean, and once it's all stripped up, then we can start putting in the on the primer. Right. The room that's got to be fully re-screeded. Two reasons was a little bit low. You need to bring it up a little bit, and of course the main reason that it really wasn't flat, so we needed to give it a full self-leveler, not just patchwork in this case because there was running off. So once we finish mixing, we'll pour it in, apply the self-leveler according to the instructions, and then we can have a smooth surface and we should start laying our floors on. We've got 2 bags of self-leveler which needs 4.4 liters of water each. So let's put the water in. That's one. Right, now we can put in the self-leveler Screed and we can start mixing. I've got a drilling machine here with a nice paddle. That will give us a mix. And you want to mix for about 5 minutes and get to make sure the whole emulsion is mixed in. What you see here is a bit of dust. Gift's going to open another bag. This is the room that's got to be fully re-screeded. 2 reasons: it was a little bit low. You need to bring it up a little bit, and of course the main reason that it really wasn't flat, so we needed to give it a full self-leveler, not just patchwork in this case because it was running off. So once we finish mixing, we'll pour it in, apply the self-leveler according to the instructions, and then we can have a smooth surface and we should start laying our floors on. So let me give this the last mix and then we'll start pouring. Okay, I'm putting on my spike shoes because I'm going to be standing in the slurry, and of course I don't want to get my beautiful Converse All-Stars dirty. So we will put on these spike shoes so we're not standing in the actual slurry. Right. Now we're going to throw the self-leveler. It gets applied with a rake. Let's chuck it out. You see it's all nicely mixed. We have no lumps and bubble in it. There we go. And you can see it's already how it's flowing. And that's what we want. Right, so get rid of that bucket. Now we can rake it out. I'll just tell you guys, self-leveling screeds, if you get by the genuine self-level, that's exactly what it is. Now, when it comes to patchwork, it's not really a self-leveler, it's just more of a patching screed. But on the self-leveler screed, you've got to mix according to the manufacturer's instructions. Exactly what the manufacturer says, that's what you need to do. Don't take shortcuts because it'll bite you in the back later. Okay, so every manufacturer has his own instruction. Go to the book. We're in another room now, and here we're going to do a small bit of patchwork. We don't need to do a full screed like we're doing in that room. This room's just got one little area by the door which is dipping down, so we need to level that. So if you just come down, 2 things I want to show you. During the building process, there's little spots of cement that people have dropped. You really, guys, you must clean your screeds properly. Gift, where's that broom? Just come and sweep here. Oh, he's got, okay, all these little lumps must come out. So we'll give those a sweep, but that's what you've got to do. And I'll just show you back on the straight edge. You'll notice underneath, you've got this little dip here. Now, if you don't level that, this floor is going to always be dipping by the door, and you're going to have a complaint from the owner, and to rectify it afterwards is a major problem. The rest of the screed here is fine. So, guys, check all your screeds. That little dip can cause a problem after the job with your customer and your payment. So let's do that now. I like what I see here is the plastic against the door. So obviously there's plastic underneath here, and they've made provision to stop any water coming in with this plastic. Okay, you're going to just check now the straight edge with all our different areas that you're going to do. So Gift is just marking. So he's looking at the straight edge and marking at the same time. And this little area is the area we're going to patch. As we said, it's quite expensive to do a full screed. So here we're just doing a patchwork which is suitable. Right, so now it's all marked. Now we're going to prime it. By the door here was a little bit of a dip. We checked that with our straight edge, as you can see it here. Now we're just going to, we put our bonding liquid on the floor, and now the primer's there. Now we're going to just quickly self-level this little patch, this little area only. And then we can also start laying in this room in the morning. So there we go, just this little area to get it all straight. Right, there we have it. Just to rake it out. Right, now you're putting the roller over it just to aerate it and get rid of all the air bubbles. And this gives you a beautiful smooth finish like you saw just now in the other room. Right, this will be dry by the morning and we can check the moistures and we can lay in this room as well. Aerate it and then we're okay with this area and we can lay. Guys, these are very important things to do. You can see all the work has gone into this site, doing things right before we start laying the floor. It's vital because afterwards it's too late. Then you've got days and days of pulling out floors, starting again. Do it right the first time, it'll pay off. Gift's going to finish off what I started. Our gift, it's going well. I think we'll have enough for this whole room. Then we'll leave it to dry overnight. It's all cured properly. Test the moistures one more time that there's no more moisture left in this, because these self-leveling screeds normally within a day or so they're completely dry because it's only a few mil thick. And then we can start laying in the morning. So gift, let's go. Nearly finished. Right, we finished putting the self-level on, and I'm not going to stand on it now, so I'm outside the door, but we'll show you how it looks. You can see it's like a mirror, like glass. Tomorrow morning this will be dry, perfectly flat. So there, guys, you can see the self-leveler. If you look there towards the window, you'll see how the window is actually reflecting in it. It looks like glass. Quick and easy. As you can hear by the noise, we're on a site here, so this is what you're getting as the real deal. Actual action as it would be on one of your sites. Just to talk a little bit about acclimatization of timber on site. You don't always have to acclimatize, only sometimes. One of the big reasons when you're acclimatizing for solid timber is that it may have been dried in the Cape or in a coastal area, and they normally acclimatize or kill and dry the timber down to about 12 to 14%. It's a little bit high for Joburg, so you may need to pin stack or sticker stack the wood, which I'm going to drop in a picture so you can see that. And to do that until such time comes when your timber is dried to the air around it. And there is a way of checking the air, and I'm going to show you that also just now. When you come to acclimatizing timber, you've got to know what to acclimatize it to. Generally, timber, if you're importing wooden flooring, generally it's all dry to 8%. They've calculated that to be an average air moisture content, 8%. So with flooring, we like it quite dry, so normally it's hard to get everything exactly 8%. So they say plus minus 2, so it might be 6 to 8 or 8 to 10, and that's acceptable. On the coastal areas, it's more like 12 to 14%, and that's a little bit high for the inland. So if you're taking timber that's dried on the coast, and you're coming into Johannesburg or the inland areas, then you need to sticker stack it and dry to inland, down to about 8%. If it's coming from Joburg or from an inland area up to the coastal areas, Durban, Cape Town, for example. Durban's a very humid area. You need to sticker stack and acclimatize that inland dried timber to 12 to 14% to the average moisture, air moisture in the area. So all those sort of things you can find on the Sawlfa website. Here's what we call a hygrometer. This hygrometer, I can tell you now that the humidity at the moment is 30%. We're in winter at the moment, so the 30% is the bottom low. In other words, we need a humidity between 30 and 50%. Yeah, it goes to 29, so it's quite low, the humidity at the moment, and it can get lower. The temperature today, if you look on the hygrometer, is 21.5, and on the Sawlfa website, and we'll show you a graph, it's 29% humidity versus a 21% temperature will give you an air moisture, and you can see what you need to acclimatize to. When you're acclimatizing for laminate flooring, general acclimatization, engineered flooring is often not necessary to acclimatize. However, we like the boxes to be put on site in the room they're going to be installed which is more temperature acclimatizing for a few days. So in order, it may come out of your store, which might be very cold, and you might be moving into a house which is nice and warm inside. We just need the acclimatization in temperature to get, because timber also expands and contracts with temperature too. So mostly it's temperature acclimatization. With solid wood, if it's coastal and inland, you need to do some different acclimatization. So a hygrometer, quite a handy little tool to have to understand what is your air moisture against the moisture content of your timber. Right, still on the subject of acclimatization, it's quite important to know that with the dry air, timber shrinks. Now, often you find in hotels, gyms, restaurants, where you have air conditioners. Now, what an air conditioner does, it actually takes the moisture out of the air. So if you're going to acclimatize your timber to a room where there's air conditioning, you need to make sure the air conditioners are running while the timber is acclimatizing, because that's going to take it even lower in moisture. So be careful of air conditioners. If you just bring ordinary timber that has not been acclimatized and you put it in a room that's air conditioned, you're going to get shrinkage, and that's gaps between the boards, and that might become a complaint. But air conditioners, please guys, they take moisture out of the air, acclimatize with them on. Cool.